And when that happens, look, I mean, you can see it. It's evidence today in itself. So yeah. For today's last story, we got some pretty high-profile celebrities partnering with their mayor to help pay people's rent amid the COVID crisis. In New Orleans, if everybody knows, happens to be one of the cities that has been hit hardest by COVID. But with any great community, there are people willing to help others out. Co-founders of the very popular record Cash Money has stepped up to help out their community. Brian Williams and Ronald Williams are partnered up with New Orleans Mayor Latoya Cantrell to cover the cost of rent for the month of June for residents living in low-income housing. You probably know these brothers by their rap names, Birdman and Slim. Yeah, it was a pretty big surprise since I've never heard their real names either. But as of May 30th, Cash Money has donated over $225,000 to a nonprofit organization called Forward Together New Orleans, filling the massive gaps in community needs and available resources to protect the city during the pandemic. As detailed by the nonprofit Forward Together New Orleans, funds will be used specifically to pay the June rent for hundreds of subsidized tenants and families who are most at need and live in the former Magnolia, Calliope, and Melpomene projects. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of French names or Creole names and stuff like that in that area, so forgive me if I'm not pronouncing them right. They are now known respectively as the Scattered Sites, Harmony Oaks, Merino Commons, and Goost. Tenants will be notified directly if they are included in the grant, which will go to the landlords. In addition to paying the rent for all these people in June, Cash Money has partnered with iHeartRadio's media, New Orleans-based Q93 and WYLD radio stations to give away 100 gift cards to radio listeners for groceries every weekday in May, which totaled $10,000. So shout out to Birdman and Slim for stepping up and using all that hard-earned cash to help the community that they grew up in. This is a prime example of what I mean when I say if you have an excess amount of money, you should feel and have a responsibility to help those around you and improve life overall for those who need it the most. I mean, community is something that I stress very often, maybe not often enough, but I've said it before. It means common unity. When everyone's taken care of overall, life is better for everyone, not just a few. And when the underserved are taken care of, you can see everything else start to strive and flourish. So we're only as strong as our weakest link. And if we could somehow change that every man for themselves mentality, we can only go up from there. So it starts with us and people like them. Now, today's PPDPT segment, we'll go to, I'm just going to stay on the topic of this episode of the podcast. So I'd like to highlight this week's Limelight PPDPT. For people who don't know, it's the positive people doing positive things to Color of Change. Color of Change is the largest digital racial justice foundation in the U.S. The grassroots organization is devoted to building up African-American communities through economic, criminal, and media justice. Color of Change believes in solidifying racial equality means ensuring fair hiring practices, correcting racial wage disparities, seeing representation on our screens, instituting prosecution reform, and stopping anti-Black violence. I chose this organization because this entire episode was about change. It's about change for the disenfranchised Black American. This whole episode was about the injustices that everyone is protesting about and how these changes are coming together. So this organization is really dedicated to organizing people from one goal, and that's equality. They help design campaigns powerful enough to end practices that unfairly hold Black people and champion solutions that move us all forward until justice is real. So if you'd like to get involved and want to see more of what this organization is about, I highly encourage you to check out the show notes since you're going to go there anyway and see how you can donate or join the movement. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for today. We covered a lot on this episode, some being about laws that are being implemented directly corresponding these protests, like the immunity law and Breonna Taylor's law. to people putting their money where their mouth is and helping those who need it the most, keeping roofs over their heads. So once again, shout out to Birdman and Slim and their mayor. And we touched on a weird fact about taste and our PPDPT color of change, who is fighting for exactly what's been going on for the last few weeks: equality. As I said before, I always want to get feedback on how these episodes are being received. And once again, you're done here. Once you're done here, check out all the links to the things that we discussed today, especially the links provided by our partners at Audiograph to help you interact with the podcast, to take those polls for a chance to get a shout out on next week's episode. Be sure to visit theblockisback.org to donate for those meals and that back to school drive that we're having at the end of August, and that color of change, to see if something resonates with you there. Definitely go check those out. Another thing, I know I speak my mind and my opinion may not align with yours, and that's fine. I'd like to think I know what I'm talking about most of the time, and if I got anything wrong or I need to correct anything, as I said before, as far as facts go anyway, please reach out. Let me know. Email me at limelighthhighlight@gmail.com, or send me a message on any of our social media platforms on Facebook and IG at Limelight Highlight. Tweet us at LLHighlight. Since you're already going to be in the show notes, while you're there, leave a rating and a review, subscribe, share the podcast, follow it if you really like to support. We're streaming everywhere you find podcasts: Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, even YouTube. So yeah, I'd like this podcast to be real interactive with you guys. I want it to be something for the people, somewhere people can really enjoy a little brighter side of things. So thank you to all my supporters and listeners. You give me a little purpose every week, and you make me want to up my game and give you some decent content so you can enjoy it every week. So be sure to vote on those polls again. Come back next week for more positive news. And until next time, be humble, be helpful, pay it forward, be the best you, and remember, it ain't all bad. Thanks for listening.